Rarely hear each other. Larry Sharpe has traveled the country and has personally visited every county in New York State, listening to people's concerns. The Sharpe Way is a show where answers, solutions, and common ground can be found so that together we can forge a new way forward. The Sharpe Way is the way to mutual respect, where no one has to convert to be heard, because you can be as liberal or as conservative as you want, as long as you aren't forcing your beliefs on others. Welcome to Sharpe Way Radio.
Oh, yes, it is Larry Sharpe. Sharpe Way Radio here on the Voice of Liberty here in glorious Western New York. The phone number to call me after the first break, 585-346-3000. Boy, this weekend has made me think about a lot of stuff. I traveled some of New York last weekend. I went to 6 different spots. I went to Catskill, Sherburne, Watkins Glen, Cuba, Middletown, I think one more, a bunch of different places. And I visited 2 prisons, 2 picket lines. Went to Wallkill and Woodburn prison. Traveled around, made me think about something. And it's going to sound odd, but you know I'm going to bring it back because I always do. When I was a teenager, I played football in high school. Yes, I did. Larry, you're not that big and strong. I'm not that big and strong, it's true. But I was smart, so I could still play. It's fine. It's big enough. I used to play football in high school. And I remember how aggressive sometimes our coaches were. And if you ever played a sport, team sport specifically, you know how aggressive they can be. And they would be sometimes very aggressive, almost to a point where it was just punishing everybody for everything and constant punishment. But that was always the individual coaches, like the defensive coordinator coach or the lineman coach, or the case may be. But then the head coach would come in and would play the good cop. All right, stop it, enough for you guys. They punished them enough. Let's go. Let's get some stuff going on, blah, blah. And we'd all love our head coach. He saved us. We're all happy, and we would do anything for our head coach. Well, I saw that again in the Marine Corps. I saw that in boot camp, in fact. In boot camp, for those of you who've gone to some form of boot camp, you know there's always like your chief drill instructor, and then the other drill instructors. And the other drill instructors are always the harshest. They're the ones who are the meanest. And then once in a while, the chief drill instructor will come in and say, all right. He'd be the good cop, right? The old idea was the beatings would continue until morale improves. And they'd keep beating us. Finally, somebody would come save us. We'd be so happy, we would do anything. You might say, well, Larry, that's, football and stuff. I'm going to give you a real example. It's history, but it's real. It's not even American. 1917, World War I, the French army is in utter revolt. They're fighting the Germans. The Germans are winning. The French are tired. They have been in the trenches for weeks. They're not getting relief. They're exhausted. They have to constantly attack. They're in a constant violence. They're at a point to where they say, I cannot win. And the French non-commissioned officers literally start shooting their officers. They refused to charge. They refused to attack. It was so bad, the Germans didn't believe it. Literally, at this time, the Germans could have just made an attack and walked to Paris. And the French would have been like, I don't even care. But it was so bad, the Germans thought it was a joke. They thought it was some kind of trick. That's how bad it was. So what the French do? They brought in a guy named General Pétain, the guy who was retired. But all the troops loved him. And he came in and said, enough. We're going to fix this and make it good. We're going to give you some relief. You're still going to fight the battle. You're still going to fight the war, but we're going to be fair and respectful with you. And it changed everything. It saved the French army, which gave the French army time to hold on for the Americans to come in and for us to win that war. Without Pétain, without the good cop or the good guy, couldn't make it happen. What did I see last weekend, when I was chatting and sitting and talking with striking corrections officers. It was the beatings will continue until morale improves. And the good cop, which is supposed to be our governor, Her Majesty, Queen Kathy, first of her name, destroyer of businesses, she is not being the good cop. She's just continuing to punish. And when you keep punishing, people don't respond. There's got to be someone who comes in and goes, okay, let's change things. There has to be. Her good cop was, okay, you can go back to work and we won't punish you. That was good cop. Yeah. Okay. Well, not force you to do quadruple overtime, but maybe not. That was her good cop. We will delay the HALT Act for 90 days. You're going to still have it. It's not going to stop, but 90 days. So that's the good cop. Well, they didn't care. They're still there. The good cop was, if you don't go back to work, go back into fighting the Germans, go back into the trenches, go back and die. Go back and die. And I won't punish you. They said, we're not going back. They're still on strike. And you might say, Larry, what are these guys? These corrections officers, they must be greedy because they already got a contract and they got good money. Obviously, they're greedy. No, not even close. For those of you who are all about legal, and some of you I know you are, this strike officially is illegal, which I don't care about at all, but I know some of you do. It's illegal. What do you mean? They have a union, Larry? They do. The union is not supporting them. Not only has Her Majesty abandoned them, not only has the system abandoned them, not only has the state Senate, who refuses to even look at the HALT Act, won't even look at it, abandoned them, but the union has also abandoned them. So they said, I don't care. I am going to fight anyway, no matter what. And you might go, wait a minute, Larry, if it's not the money, what is it? For some of them, it's literally their lives. I wasn't joking when I used 1917 fighting in a trench against the Germans as an example. Some of you may not know this. There is one of the demands is not money. If you look at their demands, it's not money. Now, of course, Her Majesty says, I don't know what they want. Perhaps she can't read because they literally presented them in writing 2 weeks ago. I have them. I saw them. I spoke about it 7 years ago. 7 years ago, I spoke about it. But here's one of the issues. They would like, if they could, to have the HALT Act ended. And you might go, Larry, you are clearly a mean person. The HALT Act puts people in solitary confinement. That's true. Not only that, though. Now, I know when you're thinking about solitary confinement, you're thinking, oh my God, 30 days, the hole, and there's one window and they close the window and it's dark and they throw food at you once a day and you take a poop in a hole somewhere. That's what you think. Let me tell you something. Sit down, because you might fall down. In solitary confinement, there's Wi-Fi. Let me say it again. In solitary confinement, there's Wi-Fi. They take their devices in the solitary confinement, and there's Wi-Fi. They can FaceTime. I'm not joking. I wish I was. The reason for solitary confinement is not to punish them so badly that they sit in a hole and eat bread and water for 30 days. It is to separate people for many reasons, and usually to protect inmates, but sometimes to protect corrections officers. The HALT Act makes it a right for people to be out of their cells for at least 7 hours a day. You might go, Larry, that's not much. It isn't. But what happens when that person, for 7 hours a day, takes one of those 7 hours to intimidate, stab, or beat up somebody? Well, Larry, that's not really happening. Was that right? Since the HALT Act has been in place around 2022, the amount of assaults on inmates has increased 80%. On inmates. I'm not even talking about the corrections officers. This is on inmates. And you might be someone who says, I don't care about those damn inmates. They're bad guys. Let me tell you the truth about the inmates. Tell you the truth. A chunk of those inmates, you would be right. There's a chunk that are horrible people and should probably never come out of prison. It's true. I'm not fooling myself. It's true. And there's a chunk of those people who simply made a mistake, need to do their time, and get back out and get a second chance at life. And if you ask corrections officers, they will tell you that's their favorite type of inmate. They like the guy who goes, I screwed up. I got to do my time. I got to get back out and get back out of life. They love that prisoner. They want all of them to be that way. They hate the first type. Then there's a third type. They shouldn't be there at all. Those are the most heartbreaking. And even corrections officers say, that guy shouldn't be here. Even they say they're heartbroken. They know some people in prison shouldn't be there. So what do they want to do? They want to separate them to keep the hardcore gangbangers out and away. What does the HALT Act do? It says you can't get solitary confinement at all if you're under 21. Yeah. You might go, well, that sounds fair, Larry. They're kids. You are fooling yourself. Number one, some of the most violent guys in prison are under 21, but not just that. So now I'm a shot caller. I'm a gangbanger, shot caller, but I'm like 28, 29, 30. Maybe I'm in my 40s. I could get in trouble. What am I going to do? I'm going to take my 7 hours out and I'm going to go find somebody who's under 21. And I'm going to say, hey, you, Johnny, Vinny, Bobby, whoever, you're going to go do this horrible thing over to Mike. And I go, well, I don't want to do that. I'm not a gangbanger. Oh, you'll do it, or something bad's going to happen to you with me and my boys. Because if you do it, you don't get in trouble. You're now part of our gang, like it or not. That happens every day because we can't split them up, because we can't separate them. In the horrible, horrible solitary confinement that has Wi-Fi. And even some parts of the solitary confinement is just the doors are open. The cell doors are open so they can still talk to each other. So it's not really solitary. It's just separating people. And sometimes the people who are violent want to be separated from the violent ones, and they voluntarily want it. Yeah. It's not what you would think. And sadly, I'm not even close to done. Larry Sharpe, Sharpe Way Radio, on the Voice of Liberty here in Western New York. I'll be back with your calls and your chat and a whole lot more on this after the break.
Only available in the WYSL store at WYSL1040.com. Official top quality tees, hoodies depicting the colorful WYSL logo, or the already famous Mount Rushmore line of merch depicting Mount Rushmore's style are for worst presidents. Of course, you know who is front and center up on that mountain. WYSL official items make perfect gifts, or they're a great way for you to make a personal statement. Locally produced and sold only in the WYSL store at WYSL1040.com.
Dion, you see this most likable spokesperson poll?
Really? I might know somebody. Oh, we're looking forward to this today, aren't we?
Seriously, guys? We're a team. We're not competing against each other.
Ooh, who's a good spokesperson?
2 puppies?
I did not expect that from you.
Ooh, one of them's for you. Oh, ooh, who's a good spokesperson? Yes, go Team West Her. Oh.
Welcome to West New York.
Hi, my name is Evan Spindleman,
founder and owner of Flood Broker. Flood insurance premiums are skyrocketing, and if you have to have flood insurance coverage to secure your mortgage, you owe it to yourself to call me to see how I can save you money on your flood insurance premium. The insurance programs I use are bank accepted and will satisfy your loan requirement. Please give me a call at 585-736-4366 today to get a free no obligation quote. That's 585-736-4366. Call today.
Sharpe Way Radio on the WYSL stations.
Oh, yes. It is Larry Sharpe back here on Sharpe Way Radio on the Voice of Liberty in Western New York. 585-346-300 is the number. Give me a buzz after the next break because I'm going to keep talking for a bit because I got more. Before the break, I was talking about the increase in violence against the inmates, about how we use the HALT Act to protect these inmates. It isn't just about the corrections officers. It's about the inmates too. It's about their families. Because when the corrections officers can't keep things safe, they cancel visitation. You may say, Larry, why do I care about visitation? Because again, the first group of prisoners, who cares, to be forward, they're never coming out. Or they shouldn't come out if they do. Or they're going back in when they come out. But those other two groups, they need to touch their families. They need to be close. Because when they come back out, I don't want them going back in. I hope you don't. Not only because that means they've committed a crime against somebody, but also because we're paying for them. So I'd like them to have a chance at life to get back out. Family matters. So even when it comes to families, they're affected. I'm going to go, Larry, okay, well, that's bad. Maybe we should get rid of HALT Act. We should. We never talked to the corrections officers and what they thought. The union made that deal without even talking to the actual people there. The union had failed them and still was failing them. And the state Senate failing them. This should be changed. But they're also closing a bunch of prisons. Save money, I guess. You might go, well, Larry, that sounds great. Don't you want to close a bunch of prisons? Saves money. No. What? No. And the reason is what's happening is three things. Number one, now you're overcrowding prisons. And again, you might say to yourself, Larry, why do I care? These prisoners are evil, terrible people. Okay, fine, if you believe that. But when you overcrowd a prison, you increase violence. It is literally an equation. If you add more people and make it more crowded, you will have more violence. Violence means violence against those inmates who aren't the violent ones, who I want to get back out and get back into the world. The people who shouldn't be there and the people who should do their time, pay their debt, and get back into society. They're the ones getting knifed. I'm not joking. Stabbed. They're the ones getting beaten up, jumped. Other horrible things I can't say. All types of things. But I didn't talk about something else. Since the HALT Act, 32% increase in assaults against officers. Why? Because there's no punishment to assault and to disrespect an officer because of the HALT Act. You can't do anything against them. You may go, Larry, you can yell at them, or maybe they'll get rough with them or something. These are the hardest core criminals that we have in the state. They're not afraid of violence. Let me say it again. They're not afraid of violence. You, if you're not a corrections officer, you don't know how to handle them. Not because you're not smart, because you haven't done it for years. The corrections officers have. They know how to handle these guys. So, of course, we then asked them right away and then told them, no, we didn't. We ignored them. And now we're shutting down facilities, making it harder and harder. Well, not just that. What if I'm a family member and I've either moved or shifted or adjusted everything I possibly could so I can go visit my loved one, my inmate? Well, nothing changes because you keep moving him. Now I can't see him anymore. I can't work. Bring his kid. I can't do that anymore. That's a problem. We need to make sure that's happening, and it isn't. Something else you might not get. As people move, some people begin to retire and leave. And people don't want to be corrections officers anymore. They're struggling. Across New York, all law enforcement is struggling to hire people You might go, well, Larry, well, maybe they should raise the pay. Oh, the pay isn't that bad. It's not like they're not like making $1 gazillion, but they're not starving. It's the environment. The people are literally going to die. They're going to get stabbed. They're going to hurt. But I'm going to go one step further. One of the other things they've said, besides closing prisons, besides HALT, is scanning all of the mail and all of the packages. You might go, Larry, it's expensive. Come on now, we can't do that. Who cares? They're human. Give them some privacy. I get the argument. I do. Here's the problem. Literally what's happening is people are sending letters laced with drugs. Yes, laced with drugs in the letters on the paper. So they get it, they take it, they roll it up and smoke because we allow them to smoke in prison. I'm not joking. We allow them to smoke in prison. They have a right to smoke in prison. I don't know why we do, but we accept, I guess. I don't know why, but they've done it. So now they make the cigarette with the drug and they smoke the drugs. So now the entire area is filled with drug-filled smoke. You might go again, why do I care? Crazy prisoners, whatever. Here's the problem. If you are an addict and you've been around these drugs for a long time, they don't affect you. You're basically, you have a nice tolerance to it. You may even enjoy it. Oh, good for you. What happens if you're not an addict? What happens if you're drug-free? And most corrections officers are. So what happens when they go into these smoke-filled rooms full of drugs? They literally overdose. I'm not joking. Just one prison, 4 COs had to have Narcan hits because they were ODing from the smoke that was so thick and so toxic for them. Let me say it again. They had to use Narcan on the corrections officers, or they might have died. I wonder why they're not going back. I wonder why that is one of their biggest demands. Because they're literally going to die from an overdose. What's worse, now you're there sucking all that in, you're going to pop on a piss test or a drug test. Yeah. You're going to pop on a drug test now because you're literally getting contact high from all the drugs that are in the air because we let them smoke. We'll stop them from smoking, Larry. How? How? When you take the tools away from people who have nothing to lose. Now, again, there are many prisoners in prison who do not deserve this treatment at all. I'm being very forward. Many of them who don't deserve it. And they're now being punished for the group that are horrible and bad. But I'm going to go even further. So now you're a CO. Imagine yourself being a corrections officer. You are now working 8 hours. Then you have to work 16 hours because someone can't show, someone gets sick, whatever the case may be. So now you're working 16 hours, maybe working 24. You're Narcanning the guy next to you because he's passing out. You're getting no respect whatsoever. You have no power. You've seen people get stabbed, fighting in the ground, people having heart attacks. I'm not joking. That's a thing. And now you have to be perfect. You're not going to be. And not just that, in many prisons around the state now, you can't even call them inmates. You have to call them incarcerated personnel. I'm not joking. You might go, why does that matter? Because now you do your write-up, and you put your write-up inmate, and they give it back to you. Because that matters more than your respect. That matters more than your own dignity. That matters more than protecting criminals from other criminals. That matters more than protecting corrections officers from violent inmates. So now who else pays? Now this correctional officer goes off. And when he goes off on the wrong guy. And now the wrong guy, look, no one deserves to be beaten. That's not true, some do. The guys who don't deserve to be beaten are the ones who are being beaten, who can't defend themselves. And they'll be beaten to death when some guy who sent him to make that happen. I'm sorry, I'm a bit emotional. I'm bothered. It's Larry Sharpe, getting triggered. here on the Voice of Liberty, Sharpe Way Radio, 585-346-300. Back with your calls and your chat after the break.
God bless America.
WYSL.
AM 1040 Avon, Rochester. WLEA WCKR FM Pornell.
Here's the latest forecast from the News 10 NBC Weather Center for tonight. Rain is on the way. Temperatures will stay mild in the 40s. Wednesday, a very rainy morning. That'll taper to showers in the afternoon, turning very mild, well up into the 50s to near 60 degrees. Keep an eye out near streams and creeks for localized flooding. Keep an eye on the basements as well. Much colder, windy, temps drop into the 30s on Thursday. I'm Rich Cornelia for the Voice of Liberty.
FM Talk.
Canisteo Valley Update.
Hornell girls varsity basketball team beat Penn Yan Monday night at Honeoye Falls, Lima. Final score, Hornell 62, Penn Yan 26. The next game for the Hornell Lady Red Raiders will be sectional finals Friday night at 7 when they play Minders at Finger Lakes Community College. The Hornell boys varsity basketball team takes on a Rochester school called World of Inquiry at 6 this evening at Finger Lakes Community College. In other news, Steuben County Sheriff Jim Allard's given commendations to two deputies, Jeff Robinson and Brent Najati, for saving a person's life in Bath January 9th. Officials say the patient had a cardiac arrest that night, and they say was in and out of cardiac arrest for some time, and they say he's making great progress in his recovery. Brian O'Neill for the Voice of Liberty.
When you think chicken, think Stearns Poultry Farm Stores. Stearns Poultry Farm Stores with 2 locations, Seneca Street, Hornell, and Route 244 in Alfred Station. Stearns, the best chicken in these parts.
Not feeling great? Try Health.
It's not like, oh, I feel so bad I have to go to the doctor, but something's quite not right. I just don't feel myself. I don't have the energy that I had.
You're hearing a real-life patient of Try Health and Wellness in Macedon.
We talked about what would be best, and we came up with a plan.
At Try Health and Wellness, certified pediatric nurse practitioner Valerie Nolan consults on a range of therapies: weight management, pediatric and adolescent behavior, pre-pregnancy, nutrition, plus a range of IV therapies.
When you're in the hospital, there's always one nurse that stands out, but I want to take her home with me, and that's what I felt about Valerie.
Say goodbye to rushed 3-minute appointments.
She totally took her time, and then it's like a 75 minutes, and then she checks in on you. She lowered the lights. She checked in on me, make sure everything's okay.
Try Health and Wellness.
I felt great. I felt great when I was leaving.
669 Route 31 in Macedon. Tryhealthandwellness.info. 585-210-8440.
Hi, I'm Steve Tasker. Over the years, my wife Sarah and I have supported Heritage Christian Services and the work that they do to advance an inclusive and equitable community. Heritage Christian Services and their staff support people with intellectual and developmental disabilities by offering meaningful and diverse experiences. Like us, they believe that people are entitled to dignity, respect, equity, and justice, and that belief is reflected in all that they do. While disability services are what they were founded on, their work extends to offer life-enriching opportunities for people throughout the community through therapeutic writing, health and wellness services, and childcare, and more. Now more than ever, Heritage Christian Services needs your support to continue their work. Consider becoming a friend to Heritage Christian like Sarah and I did. Volunteer, share their job opportunities, or make a donation. To learn more, visit heritagechristianservices.org. That's heritagechristianservices.org.
Most banks offer you a choice. Or maybe it would be better to say they demand a choice. Technology so you can bank like you want to, or relationships so you can get advice when you need it. But when you choose to bank with Tompkins, you can have it all. Powerful technology and the power of a face-to-face talk about your future. Because both are part of the best banking relationship you'll ever have. Tompkins, your bank of choice. Open an account today at tompkinsbank.com.
Your family is growing and it's time for a new home. Why buy a used house with someone else's style when you can afford a new Faber home built to suit your taste and your needs? Start fresh, build new with Faber. Faber Homes can customize your home to meet your wishes and dreams. Visit the Faber Homes website at faberhomes.com and find the plan of your dreams or a quick deliver home. Give Faber Homes a call today at 247-4800. Faber Homes, great homes, great price.
WYSL.
From attic to basement, we're here for you. It's quality service in all we do. Call Taylor. 500 help.
Sharpe Way Radio on the WYSL stations.
Oh, yes. It is Larry Sharpe. Sharpe Way Radio on the Voice of Liberty here in Western New York. 585-346-3000. I have been a bit triggered. It's true. Some of you know my background. I have been on both sides of this. My father was a corrections officer at Rikers Island back in the 80s. And my mom was a convicted felon, an addict and a felon, and went to prison. I've seen both sides of this, and I can't stand the violence that is here and has to end. And it is not because corrections officers are somehow more violent than others. It's the system, right? It's the system. Now, the violent criminals, and there's a chunk of them, depending on who you talk to, about 25% of our prison population is sociopathic. So I got at least a quarter of my prison population that's probably violent people who are just going to be violent. But that's still 75% of people who are salvageable or shouldn't be there. Either one. Why am I not trying my damnedest to keep those people safe and to get them back out into the world and give them a second chance at life? Why am I not doing that? And we're not. And that's the issue. John says, now that the healthcare is threatened, seems that they're going back to work. Classic Queen Kathy. Yes. I don't know, for those of you who know, she is considering using legal action against those people who are striking because it's illegal. I don't care about that, obviously, but she does because she can use it against you. And she's taking away the healthcare, taking away their pay. She's punishing them. Her answer is, do as I say, or I will punish you. I will not make things better. And here's the worst part. As I mentioned, people don't want to be corrections officers. They're having trouble getting new people to come in. That might tell you the job sucks. You've created a bad atmosphere. That might tell you that. She doesn't want to get it. Mike Voss in the house. He says the senior drill instructor, Mike, a Marine like me, went to boot camp around the same time, was like the big dad. Give you a treat like a long shower with hot water. I remember those days. Correct. Where's that person now, Mike? That person's supposed to be, the benevolent Queen Kathy. She doesn't have it in her at all. Walter asked, what do you see today? A ton of COs in Albany. Yeah, they're still out there. I agree. Vinu says, Larry's on the money as usual. Thank you, my friend. I appreciate that. Mike goes on to say, that's insane that the union is fighting against their own members. Why have a damn union then? Correct. In fact, when I was out there, a union rep showed up. I started talking about what they were doing. Basically got booed. People just were like, we don't care. Why do we even have you? You're not helping us. Absolutely. Mike goes on to say, this needs more attention. Narcan can save lives of officers who are on the job. Are we talking about prisons or a Cheech and Chong resort? Here's the worst part. Most people don't even know about that. They don't know about that. No idea. I'm going to go one step further. Not only is this a problem here for these officers who would get in trouble and may die, but if you notice, a lot of this isn't out in the open. People aren't talking about it. Why not? There's one more part that you guys may or may not know about. Because of how they work online, because of how they have access to Wi-Fi, because it's so easy to find people, the inmates, if they get mad at COs, they can go after the CO's family. Yeah. And they don't go after them physically, but they can harass them, send them terrible jokes, put, spray paint parts of their building or their apartment or their home. Imagine that. You're a CO trying to do your job. And now you come home and your wife or your kid or whatever says, why did we get this in the mail? And it's some kind of threat. Why was it sitting on my desk when I got to my job today? Yeah, that's also happening. Have you heard about that someplace else besides here? No. Most of you didn't even know that there was Wi-Fi in solitary. Most of you didn't know the increase in violence. Most of you didn't know any of this because almost no one's covering it. No one's covering it. How about Narcan? How about that? No. You're right, Mike. It's worse than that. Shelley says, the mailroom should have drug testing equipment. Correct. That's what they're asking for. They're literally asking for that. Yes. That's the piece. John goes on to say, who would join the police force when your chance of survival has dwindled in the last 5 years since the atrocious bail reform mixed with the lockdowns? Yes. Merlin goes on to say, who the expletive would want a job in prison? Yeah, particularly like this. Why would you? So I think it's Sleepy says it's Department of Corrections not being the incarcerated to death. Look, you have a valid point, Sleepy. You have a valid point. There are bad corrections officers, no doubt. I'm not someone who thinks, law enforcement's perfect. You've never heard me say that. I say the same thing every time. Law enforcement, which by the way, includes parole officers, includes corrections officers. It's not just cops. It is cops, but it's also others who are in this law enforcement. They're just people. And you're going to have bad people. The problem is if you're in law enforcement and you're bad, people really get hurt or they die. It's true. Absolutely true. And we should, without question, punish those people who do that. There is a minor shift I want to bring in here, though. If you're in a prison, you do something wrong, there is due process. Unless you're a corrections officer, you don't get due process, and you deserve it too. Even the bad ones who beat people to death, and some corrections officers do that. You are correct. And they still deserve due process. And if they've done the bad thing, they should either go to jail, be fired, whatever is the appropriate, whatever they've done, whatever is the appropriate punishment, they should get it. Of course they should. But the problem is when there is no due process, as we saw with the recent deaths in Marcy Prison, 14 corrections officers just fired, gone. Were they all guilty? Were any of them guilty? I mean, looks like from the video, looks like somewhere. Again, alleged, looks like somewhere. Okay, punish those. All 14? No due process? Where's the investigation? Where's all that? All gone. All gone. Yet you see story after story after story of inmate literally assaulting corrections officer and no punishment. All the time. So what begins to happen? The corrections officers begin to not care. The environment makes them not care. And violence begets violence, begets violence. And Sleepy, you're right. We are having violent corrections officers. That's true. I'm not trying to defend them from the violence. I'm saying change the environment, change the system. Better system, better outcomes. Worse system, worse outcomes. I'm not excusing this. I want to be very clear. I'm explaining it and saying, let's fix it. I don't want CEOs getting stabbed. I don't want inmates getting stabbed either. How about nobody gets stabbed? How about that? I would like that to be the case. That is my issue. Myra says, what would happen if all the CEOs walked out of the job? Well, there's the worry. Myra, there's the worry. If they all do, they won't, because they're all going to lose their jobs. They're all going to lose their benefits. And the National Guard will have to step in. And then Sleepy will be right. Sleepy will be right. because the National Guard does not know how to handle these men. And the amount of violence will be legendary across New York State. That is how bad it will be. If they all walk out, the violence will be tripled, quadrupled. Because what will happen is the National Guard will simply set a perimeter and let the prisoners do whatever they want. And there'll be no medicine, no food, violence. That's what will happen. So let's hope that won't happen. Let's hope they figure this out. I really want that. Merlin says, violent out of fear of being hurt. What's that saying? Hurt people hurt. Yes. Joel responds, I watched a video posted by a National Guardsman's wife. She said the guardsmen are having a terrible time, horrific conditions. Yes, they're not corrections officers. Corrections officers, many of them literally have decades of experience. They know how to handle this. Can I expect some National Guardsman who was working as a sales rep at a store a month ago to know how to handle the most violent prisoners that we have in the state? How to fix things, make things work. They don't know. And here's the worst part. A lot of the environment they're in is fixed or repaired by what I would call civilians, right? They're not really corrections officers, but they come in and they'll do things like fix things, repair things, make food, medical personnel. Well, Joel, you're a civilian. You're not accustomed to this kind of violence. You usually have COs protecting you. Now you're going to go in. There's no COs there. You're not going in. There are prisoners now not getting fed, not getting meds. How is that going to be good? So I'm already in prison. I'm not getting my medications. I'm not getting fed. I mean, nothing but bad. This is just getting worse. And that's why I keep talking about it. Am I nuts for talking about it? You can tell me. 585-346-3000. Larry Sharpe on Sharpe Way Radio, the voice of liberty. Back your calls and your chat after the break.
Donald Trump and conservatives may have won, but you know the left will unceasingly try to undermine society and spread evil, targeting the innocent and God-fearing, especially our children. Help promote a truth-based society and try something different in 2025. The WYSL stations can grow your business, professional practice, or organization, so allocate your ad dollars here. Reach our huge audience, entertained, inspired, and informed by leading conservative thought. Affordable, effective. The WYSL stations, the voice of liberty. Call 585-346-3000 to advertise.
Most banks offer you a choice. Or maybe it would be better to say they demand a choice. Technology so you can bank like you want to, or relationships so you can get advice when you need it. But when you choose to bank with Tompkins, you can have it all.
We have Mike.
Powerful technology and the power of a face-to-face talk about your future. Because both are part of the best banking relationship you'll ever have. Tompkins, your bank of choice. Open an account today.
Roger. No, not Roger, but you know what I mean. Wilco.
Livingston County Pizza Company and Gluten-Free Bakery has a great deal on Tuesdays. A large 4-topping pizza for $18, regular or gluten-free. Call 226-9575. Open Tuesday through Sunday. Livingston County Pizza Company and Gluten-Free Bakery in Avon.
Avon Gun and Hunting Supply, a locally owned and operated gun shop specializing in pre-owned firearms and repairs. Get your rifle, shotgun, or pistol serviced and tuned before you take it to the field. Open from 10 a.m. Tuesday through Saturday. Avon Gun, East Main Street, next to Tompkins Community Bank.
Sharpe Way Radio on the WYSL stations.
Oh, yes. It is Larry Sharpe here on Sharpe Way Radio, the voice of liberty. 585-346-3000. I'm so happy you're giving me a chunk of your afternoon. The funniest thing I want to bring up here is the idea of this strike being illegal. John says the strike is illegal coming from a supposedly pro-union government of New York, while Jim says government allowing unions but not allowing strikes is nothing more than virtue signaling. Government hates unions for government workers. Yes, I think that whole piece is funny. Let me grab a call if I could. This is Mike. How are you, sir?
Hey, Larry, pretty good. This is all by design. The progressives in this state are going to use the prisoners, okay, and the criminal system to control the rest of us. Okay, this is the queen who wanted to lock us up if you didn't take the clotty shot. Okay.
Yep.
This is the queen who bumped 800 people from the University of Rochester just because they didn't want to go along with her medical tyranny. So what she's using is she's using the prisoners. She's going to call them down. She's going to pack them into one place. She's trying to get rid of the guards that have been there. And then she's going to say, well, the prisons are now overcrowded. Now we have to release them back to the streets.
Yep.
Well, you release them back to the streets. Okay, our cops now on the streets are overwhelmed and their hands are tied. So what did you do? It's the Cloven Pittman. You created the problem, and then she's going to come up with some miracle solution. Okay.
There we go.
And
now we have to go back to her. We have to go back to her to fix the problem that she created.
Correct. Also, too, she's got a problem too. Is now she's given the illegals New York State documentation IDs in New York City.
Yep.
Okay. This is all part of her. This is the progressive plan. Let's say progressive / communist. Let's not mince words, okay?
But my worry here, Mike. My worry here, Mike. This is my concern. Is that this may be the plan? Maybe it is. But my worry is it's not the plan. My worry is they're not that savvy. This is just them making mistakes and not caring and walking along a road that seems to make sense this week, this month, and to make the most money. I think you may give them too much credit.
Right. You know what? If it's incompetency, that's worse?
Well, I'm not sure.
I don't know.
Mike, thank you for the call, my friend. I appreciate it. Look, I think Mike has a valid point here. This does, in the long run, still help Queen Kathy, Her Majesty, don't want to be disrespectful, if we have to go back to her for help again. The issue, though, does it get so bad that people get tired of it?
Roger.
I'm not sure which one is the right answer. Joel over on Rumble says, Hochul wants the state to provide health care for all. Also, Hochul weaponizes health care against the COs. Wow. Joel just came out with an amazing piece. If the government provides health care for all, they can now use that health care as a tool to fight against you. Take away your health care if you don't do what they say. Wow, that is crazy. Let me grab one more comment real fast. This is Nicholas. He says, this is a revelation. As our state legislators and governors so ignorant of how that system works. This is kind of what Mike's talking about. Do they? My excuse for ignorance is that I don't have access to this sort of info, but I listen to Larry to learn. Well, I'm sure they listen to me too, Nicholas. But no, I think most of the legislators don't know, don't care. I think the governor knows and doesn't care. Let me grab a call if I could. This is Roger. How are you, sir?
All right. I missed a lot of what was going on because I kept getting buffering when I was ordering barbecue in Port Washington.
Well, I hope it's good barbecue at least.
Yes. So first things first, got my car back.
Nice.
2, did you call you know who?
I reached out yesterday.
Cool. 3rd, I can't wait for you to do the story on what I text you about the New York Times article and the governor.
I saw it.
Go ahead.
This one's more pressing.
Yes. Yeah, no. I mean, yes. Also, when you said, when you started saying those names, you said Ronnie, Bobby. I thought she was going to go into the New Edition thing.
That would have been cute. I should have done that. I missed that spot. I should have done that. I did screw that one up.
Okay, 4, Kathy Hochul is not progressive. The reason why people on the right think that these people are progressive is because Democrats co-opted the word progressive, just like they co-opted the word socialist. You know what I mean? They always do that. They're always co-opting. These people are just establishment. So no,
it's a valid
they're
point.
not progressive. Yeah,
it's a valid point. I think you find that the Democrats of today, particularly those in New York, but I think across the country, are far more establishment in what they do, but very often progressive in their talk, right? Their rhetoric is very often progressive, but their actual actions is very much establishment.
And I got an idea for the whole thing, for the people who are in solitary confinement. I think we should introduce meditation, Tai Chi, some type of you know what I'm saying? So like when they're in there by themselves, you know what I mean? That's the perfect time to meditate. You feel what I'm saying? To, you know, like some type of calming the mind, calming the body, giving them a chance to reflect, so on and so forth. I did not know those different points you were talking about with people saying that they want to go into solitary to get away from people or for protection or whatever, to get an iPhone or whatever.
They can go in for one or two reasons generally. One of them is they don't want to become part of a gang, right? And they get pressured into becoming part of a gang. They don't want to, so they leave. That's option one. That's a better, more positive reason to go in. There's also a negative reason they want to go in. They owe too much money. If they owe too much money to the other people, they don't want to get payback. So they just trying to escape their debt. So it's two different reasons. But yes, sometimes people want to go in and they can't.
While they're in there, teach them some meditation and some Tai Chi.
There we go. I like it. Roger, thank you for the call, my friend. Look, I'm not saying Roger's wrong. I'm not against any of those things. If that's going to make you a better person, if that's what you want, sure. I'm totally okay with any of those things. Whatever's going to make you better is what matters. Cam says, there is no solitary confinement anymore, only rehabilitative units. This is the problem, Cam, and I think you've put this here, which is it's not what we think it is. For most people, what I talked about today, people don't know. They still think it's Shawshank Redemption. That's what they think. And it's nowhere near that. I think you're right. And the more we put a spotlight on this, and I'm trying. I literally visited prisons this weekend. I posted all of my social media. This is at least my second or third show talking about this. I've been talking about this problem for years. I'm trying to put a spotlight on this, and boy, is it hard. John is with Roger. He says, agree with Roger. Cuomo still portrays himself as progressive, and we all know he isn't even close. Correct, John. Cuomo, who will probably be my next mayor, sadly. Cuomo is not a progressive. He is a Cuomoist. He is whatever will get him in power. He'd be a communist tomorrow. He'd be a libertarian tomorrow. He'd be a Republican tomorrow, whatever. Whatever would get him elected, that's what he is. He's not a progressive. Unless it gets him elected, then he'll do it. He will do whatever it is to move forward. That's it. John Gold says, New York State pensions are drastically underfunded, and it's an easy purge of Tier 3 employees. By the way, they also asked for that. Who's been talking about the broken New York State pension system since 2018? Oh, right, me. Yes. All of this stuff I've been speaking about for 7 years, guys. It's important. Thank you so much for listening to me. I hope you will share this with others. It really matters. Thank you for giving me a chunk of your afternoon. I will see you all very soon.
Great show as usual.